leverage that for workforce housing in your community. So, and please, we can keep this casual. You can ask me questions as we go. Seriously, this is a very casual forum, and I want you to get the most out of it as you can. So there's two different forms we'll talk about, a land bank and a land trust. They are tools that local governments use across the country. Traditionally, you can have it held by cities, by counties, but even sometimes stormwater preservation districts for land credits and EPA credits and things like that. But we won't worry about that for this training. We're just going to look at it as a land management tool for the city. So land banking, I'm sure most of y'all familiar with. You kind of have one in a way, right? You have land that you're holding as a city, as a government body. You can use that for preservation towards open space. You can put it towards mitigation for, stormwater runoff, if you like. You could put it towards addressing community needs like affordable housing, workforce housing, whatever public purpose. Oh, hey, Ryan. Here, Ryan, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Ryan Bland, Pluto Group, senior planner.
And Ryan and I, we worked on the team for the Hartsville City Plan, and he's my backup tonight.
Yeah,
today.
Yep.
Okay, so land trusts are a little bit different. They actually function as a nonprofit organization, and that's something defined by state law. It can be managed in-house and overseen by a government, but just for the form of the actual organizational structure, it has to be a nonprofit. So you would have a separate nonprofit board. This city council could could enlist and appoint all the land trust members if you chose to do so. A big part of that, though, is just making sure that whatever the geographic area of that land trust is going to be, that it's representative, whoever those land trust members are a third actually living in that community, a third maybe partners in that community, maybe of businesses, other nonprofits who are serving that community, and of course, like another third, you'd probably want a mix of folks with land ownership or just businesses who want to move into that community. It could be school district, it could be anything that you see as a community need. So that's the general makeup of a land trust on the nonprofit scale. Again, you could have them be city employees even if you're staffing up for a land trust, so that way you have some oversight, or it could just operate as a separate nonprofit board, run as a nonprofit. But either way, you'd want to ideally appoint the members of that trust.
Question.
Yes, Teresa.
Land trust.
Yes, ma'am.
It operates sort of like a development corporation would operate. It has to be a private entity.
Yes. Yes and no. So it would be nonprofit.
Right.
And you don't necessarily have to hold, the idea is that you're holding the land, but it doesn't have to be in perpetuity. So you don't have to necessarily develop on it. You could promote, like it says here, preserve it for open space, protect farmland. So in that way, it doesn't have to be developed. But yeah, very similarly, it's like a nonprofit development arm
Okay.
if you choose to develop.
You may be addressing this at some point.
Yeah.
How does it promote affordable housing?
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that. So this is my
Okay.
favorite part. Yes. And I should say I helped establish our land trust in Greenville, and as well as other nonprofit partners like Habitat for Humanity. That's another route of using a nonprofit partner that already exists to run and administer that land trust. But you just want to make sure wherever you have them that they are talking together if you have multiple land trusts in a community, which happens. This would be the first, so I would certainly suggest having that government oversight, but you could absolutely partner with Habitat on the administration if you wanted to go with a local nonprofit partner as well. They'd still have to have a separate nonprofit board. Like you can't use the Habitat board to serve as a land trust board, if that makes sense. So why is this important for governments? You have land, that is a huge asset. I'm telling you, not a lot of governments we work in are actually holding land, right? And that's the biggest piece of control you have for your city. So whether it's revitalizing neighborhoods or affordable housing or preservation, sustainable development, the fact that you own it and have control over it, and then have the tool of a trust on top of that will make it, codified in law for you to do with it. most of the time it's either preserving green space, and we'd have to look back, I think, at those open space and goals, but for the purpose of this, it seems like in the city planning that we did here about a year ago, workforce housing kept coming up in particular, around supporting the community's long-term vision, to include growth, to include and meet that housing gap that exists within the city of Hartsville. Can you jump in here at all, Ryan,
Sure,
if
yeah.
I'm missing
No,
anything?
no, you're doing good.
Okay. Okay, so those two things work together. So we talked about land banks, we talked about land trust. There's also within state law what we call community land trust. And this gets to your question, Mayor, about how does it work for affordable housing. So within state law, it's like around 2013, 14, we passed an ordinance, I'm sorry, not a resolution. I'm like mixing up the.
And enabling
Thank you.
legislation. Yes,
Enabling
yeah.
legislation. I just joined city council for Greenville, so I'm like ordinance, resolution. No,
Yeah.
that's city, not state. Uh, so for an enabling legislation act for CLTs, community land trust, that makes it that if you are serving folks within that affordable housing, which is 120% area median income and below, for this act that was passed, that you are actually going to receive property tax benefits as a result of that statewide. And so it gives a lower cost option, like you're taking immediately that property tax out of that assessment for a mortgage or whatever property is going on top
The
of that.
homeowner's not paying
Exactly.
property tax.
Yes, yes. Teresa, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the homeowner not paying the property taxes, it's still being in a land trust. I'm just not so sure that I would trust
Yeah.
that I would trust
Mm-hmm.
someone else who may or may not understand, and with the transition and overturn with different people and their level of understanding, I'm not so sure that I would trust that. So I would like for you, once we finish this,
Mm-hmm.
to go back and explain in detail
Yeah.
how a land bank actually operates.
Okay. So, I mean, a land bank is just, say you can codify, this is going to be the Hartsville City Land Bank, and it's government held. I mean, you already have land. You could just formalize that as council. The trust is really the mechanism in which makes that affordable. So, and like I said, you can have community members on it. So you feel trust folks who are in the community to be leading and part of that.
Sometimes and sometimes no.
Right. And the city council can appoint the board though.
I understand
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But I need you to understand what I'm saying.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
People's knowledge of what happens. You mentioned taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at taxes, this particular community
Mm-hmm.
in South Hartsville, known as the
Yes.
historic Butler District as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This community has not had the it's a word, demonization or diminution of the taxes according to the condition of the house. So what's happened is we're saying that the property is condemned, but we're still collecting full, accessible, fair market.
We're taxing like a house
Yeah.
there instead of a piece of land.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a whole nother.
No.
Yeah.
It's the building. The
Right.
building is still there.
Right.
But people believe that that building is not, the taxes aren't being paid on that building.
Got you.
They are, and
Right.
they're paying more actually, because they're residential, you pay 4%.
Yeah.
When it's non-residential, you pay 6%. So they're paying a greater tax, and
Yeah, we can come back to it. I want to make sure we get
Yeah.
through the CLTs, but yeah, that's definitely a whole nother thing that we can talk about with staff and work through.
Okay,
And I think this will be a useful tool to help address that
all
actually.
right.
So when it's held by that nonprofit, you have the land underneath that is owned by the trust. That is held forever. That is held, either you put as the ownership of the CLT, and they ground lease it to whoever's developing upon that land. So say you work with Habitat and they're going to build 20 homes on that land. They are developing the improvements upon the land, not the land that's underneath. And so what that does is put affordability restrictions on those homes, which Habitat, already has. You can set a shared equity so that once it's sold, you decide as that body, the CLT board, do you want the split in 50-50, 60-40, 70-30? Whatever goes back to the trust is what helps make the affordability for the next person. Because right now what you might have is a purchase of a home that's affordable, and then it's sold at a windfall for that person. And then you've lost the affordable home stock that is supposed to be continuing and generational and creating wealth, right, for multiple families. This is really very much an entry point. I would say it's a whole category. You still need affordable home ownership without restrictions. You still need affordable rental. But this is one stepping point to get you between that affordable rental and that affordable home ownership. It helps you gain equity and gives you stable, flat mortgage versus rents that can, escalate even higher.
Okay,
So,
excuse me.
yes.
So, you don't own, the homeowner does not own the land. They get a fee simple.
That's right.
Just like a normal homeowner.
Yes,
They don't own the land.
that's right. They own the house upon
They
the
don't own
land.
house. Okay. Then they can sell it anytime they want, just like anybody else. But
Mhm.
the way a trust works is some of that money from the profit.
Yes,
What if there's a loss?
exactly.
What if there's
Exactly.
a loss?
If there's a loss,
Not very common. But
right, you could decide to remove that CLT agreement, that deed restriction on that property, and so you would just have it as a regular sale if that person, and then probably the trust would eat that loss.
Okay.
Because I'd imagine you want the individual to walk away with
Yeah.
not having any loss in that property.
So they would break even basically. And
That's right.
The trust would take.
And you'd still own the land underneath for whatever
Yeah.
improvement.
And we own the trust, owns the land for perpetuity. Is that the
Yes.
idea?
And you'd basically be putting together a ground lease for that person, for the homeowner. They could pay $1 a year, right, to lease that land. But you still need a ground lease in place.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then what is a normal percentage that
Split.
Split, yeah.
It's different.
What's Greenville do?
Yeah, ours right now is like a 70-30
Who keeps 70?
because it's the city, and so it's very expensive.
Who
The
keeps 70?
city,
The city keeps 70?
the trust keeps
The
70.
trust keeps 70.
Mhm.
And so the homeowner gets 30% of the profit.
Yes. And this community, I think you could go higher. I think you could do a more equitable split.
Okay.
At least 50-50. Yes.
So the property owner gets to keep 30%
In Greenville.
in
Yeah.
Greenville.
You could decide to make it however you want the split to be.
Okay,
Hmm.
question is, when the property owner passes away,
Yes.
is there a mechanism in there to follow their heirs?
Yes,
What's the
they-
succession plan?
Yes, ma'am. So there's that deed restriction in place, but they can still they still own the house upon it, so they
Mhm.
can still leave in their will that house to their heirs.
Just
But
like
if their
anybody
heirs
else.
ever want to vacate or sell, they'd still have to meet whoever they sell to would have to have those income restrictions, so it's kept affordable. But you're absolutely right. The wills can still receive the home.
Part of the problem I've seen is heirs don't take care of the property and it goes down over 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that can happen.
And the house becomes worthless at some point, but it gets condemned.
Mhm.
How do we prevent that?
That's a great question. So with the ground lease, they still have to renew that ground lease annually. And so as the trust owning that land upon, they really have some leverage to say like, are we going to renew this ground lease with you or not? Because you're not maintaining the
So we can
property.
impose some care on the house.
Some minimum standards, yeah, for like
Mhm.
habitability and those sorts of things to be able to.
Is it
The
green-
ground
is it
lease would
green belt
have-
standards they do?
Exactly. Whenever they sign it, it has a, keeping up the house to a certain extent.
Deferred maintenance is what makes sense.
Absolutely.
Alright.
But the good thing about this is that it keeps folks to have a stable mortgage versus, say they're in it 10, 15 years and they're having their rents go up. They're able to put some more aside for that deferred maintenance. And I think if you work with folks like Habitat, we also have home repair programs. We have state monies that can be accessed that we put in the city plan. That would be helpful to go alongside this.
And who's generating the mortgage? Is it just a normal bank? They go to a bank like anybody else, or is it?
Yeah, there
trust?
are some banks throughout the state who specialize in trust
Okay.
mortgages, but it can be any partner, any bank who decides to come
It's
alongside.
not the city or the trust doing it.
Mm-mm,
Okay.
Nope, that's right. Yes, Councilmember Mack.
When the mayor spoke of the properties being in such decline and not taken care of
Mm-hmm.
and that type thing. Okay. I'm not speaking about Greenville. I'm speaking about Hartsville specifically.
Mm-hmm.
As I stated before, the houses fall into dilapidation, but the city still continues to collect the taxes of that property
Sure.
at the fair market assessed value,
Mm-hmm.
and it increases to 6%.
If they're renting it.
So I want you
If
to
they're
keep
not
that in,
occupying it, if it's just an empty building, it goes
no.
to 6%.
Oh.
If there's no building there, if the building's there or not, it still
Yeah.
carries the fair market assessed value
Mm-hmm.
until the city
What's-
takes the responsibility
Great. Yeah.
of not doing condemnation on paper or saying it, but do it on paper
Mm-hmm.
and do it like it is actually supposed to be done, because you
What's-
don't just get to
Yeah.
say that.
And what's great about a trust is it's not just new production. You could actually have folks who want to enter their own land into the land trust. And what would happen is their appraised value would only be for the appraisal of the house, not the land. So their appraised value would drop, and therefore their taxes would also drop.
There are other cities that, not other cities, but
Mhm.
actually states
Yeah.
that do not, you own the house,
Mm-hmm.
but you do not own the land.
That's right. That's exactly what we're talking
There
about.
are
Yes,
there are
ma'am.
other states that
Mhm.
the entire state, you
No, 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 no.
own the land.
Okay.
I mean, the house, but
Yeah.
you don't own the land.
We've got some examples here. So Vermont is one that is a good example. Outside Boston, like you're saying, whole areas and whole neighborhoods, sometimes a huge chunks of their city use this exact thing to keep housing more affordable and more keeping that generational. Their homeownership rates, I mean, are extremely high versus what we see as rental kind of cannibalizing, our country, to be honest. Which nothing's wrong with rental, but you have to have a balanced market. So,
What's a healthy balance?
you 60-40.
60.
If you want 60% home ownership, 40 rental is ideal.
We're at 70% rentals, I understand, in South Hartsville. So it's really loud.
Yeah, citywide you're healthier, but yeah, absolutely right. hmm So the other thing about land banks is that you can hold, like you're saying, any kind of derelict properties. They might have blight or vacancy that people can hold into the land bank. You could then at some point transfer it to the trust, but either way, it's good to have one established as a
Hold on
government.
just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Go back to that previous slide,
Mhm.
please. Okay. The land banks are public or nonprofit,
Yes.
but operating with a land bank, you retain ownership of the land.
No, that's a trust, but the land bank, the city can own the land bank itself
The
separately.
city owns the land bank,
hmm
but the city can take the property if somebody wanted to acquire the property to do development.
Yes.
Then the city would negotiate with that person
Yes,
and that
ma'am.
developer
Yes, ma'am.
and be able to build an
Mhm. Absolutely.
they would be able to
Yeah.
own the land
You can even,
and the house.
yeah, you could even as a council say all the properties we decide to put in our land bank, we're going to prioritize these things. You know, it could be open space, affordability. Um, it could be the sustainable use of that land in some way. Whatever provisions you put for your land bank, absolutely, this is overseen by this council, and they'd have to work with that developer to meet those. Mhm. It depends how tight, you know, you want that land bank to operate. This is just some examples. So, you know, it helps reduce urban blight, some improvement, you know, some corridors you see some land that you're thinking, okay, we really could use that maybe agriculturally, or there's some blight or vacancy happening, you can put them in that. So this is just an example out of Michigan. It's helped turn thousands of abandoned properties into actual farms, places for people to grow food, and then they bring it to their market. And then that, you know, their markets end up having some vendors who eventually go on to make brick and mortar, you know, restaurants. And so they have this, what's really good domino effect of revitalizing this vacant land. And given Hartsville background in agriculture, I mean, I think that's a very strong argument for the edges of the city. So some of the strategies we talked about a little bit, aligning it with potentially other organizations. You have, you know, already some acreage under your belt. Working with other nonprofits is a possibility. And obviously, I think it was mentioned as, you know, it could be local banking institutions as well. You do, like I said, want to have a very strong governance structure for that CLT. You want members of the community. And like I said, per state ordinance, it has to be those folks who are in the community included in that leadership who you appoint. And then we kind of touched on this for banking. It can be private. You can even have not just private banking, but individuals, and open up to the public if they want to be part and contribute to a land trust. It just operates like any other nonprofit would if they want to, you know, raise money and apply to some larger federal grants that are out there for CLTs. It's yes, ma'am.
What about for land banking? Are those?
No, it's government. I don't know of any grants for land banking, but for land trust, certainly. That's a good question. We can
What would the grant
come back to that.
do for the trust? It's going to buy land?
Yeah, I mean, you need y'all are lucky because you already have land. Most land trusts start out with zero land, and they're going out there and using funds to purchase property.
Okay.
But you could also just use it as initial development dollars for your first project.
Where are the examples of land that we own that you have in mind? What are we talking about?
Well, I know for the city plan, we talked about near the brewery, 4 acres. Mm-hmm.
And one of the big ones that would be part of this trust would have been Lincoln Village.
Mhm.
We've already moved forward on that
So,
option.
yeah.
Right.
And Lincoln Village could still
At,
potentially
yes,
go into
Lincoln
this
Village.
trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we don't have we said we had a land bank, but we didn't have a land bank. The city council never formally adopted a land bank.
Yep.
So we need to decide which one makes sense for us. And Teresa, I completely agree with the community land trust. We have to have training, education, and public buy-in, because without it, it doesn't.
And I would go a step further and said that if we don't have, if we had a land bank and an heir wanted to come in, or an heir has redeemed the property, and the heir has found a developer that wants to purchase their land and build a home for them, would we be able to do that in a land bank?
So under the land bank, we currently kind of operate in that sense. For
Mhm.
instance, we did transfer property area.
Yes,
That was part of our land bank, which isn't a land bank.
right.
And we started it to try and get, council said we want to do it for this purpose. I think the CLT allows for, if that homeowner can then have a leg up to then continue to own it and
Yeah.
give their heirs down the road property. The whole goal is to reduce their costs so they can keep it maintained
Mm-hmm.
and then transfer it later on to family members to start living generationally.
Yeah.
Right now, though, we, as a land bank operating sense, I would suggest we actually develop
Mhm.
a land bank, put parameters in.
Absolutely.
And the CLT can talk about making that. The land bank right now, allows us to have full control of council. And I think the CLT could structure a way that still has structure, council involvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, you can do the things we're talking about as far as developing a house on it with the land bank. I just think the CLT offers the tools and the ability for greater generational wealth building.
Yep.
And then also the idea of going out for grants, which we love to do, would assist us in acquiring more
Mm-hmm.
to protect these areas.
Absolutely.
So if the goal is home ownership, can
Yes.
the homeowner in the trust rent the property out to someone else? Are there restrictions on that?
Yes, there are restrictions on that.
So no rentals allowed.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So with the land bank, Daniel, and mayor and council, what the land bank would do is, we currently have in South Hartsville, there was 1,076 properties
Mm-hmm.
that were inventoried in 2015.
Okay.
Of those properties, there were 763 occupied. The other balance was not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the city went in and remediated a lot of these properties. But what we did not do is we did not secure the properties. And what ended up happening was black land loss,
Right.
the inability to create generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want that cycle to be repeated. And I want
100%.
the city to take full responsibility
Mm-hmm.
and accountability
Right.
for what has happened,
Mm-hmm.
and we make sure that that does not happen going forward. And right now, we have to look at where that is continuing, that practice is continuing to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. That's
that,
what.
that's why
Mhm.
I'm letting
Yeah.
everyone know.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's what's caused the land loss.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the heirs were not taking care of the property. The heirs, if we would have condemned the properties correctly and informed and educated the heirs correctly,
Mm-hmm.
which I do, then the heirs do what they need to do. But for the city to take this property and just give it basically to someone else that has not done anything with it.
That's not the idea of this program.
Yeah,
So
I understand that.
100%.
But
Yeah.
what I'm trying to tell you,
Yes, ma'am.
and what I'm trying to convey to the mayor and the rest of council,
Gotcha.
is that this has to be addressed
Mm-hmm.
through education
Yes, ma'am.
as well.
Mhm.
Because if you don't know your history,
Yeah.
then history is repeated.
That's right.
And that puts the South Hartsville neighborhood in a
Yeah.
no-win
And
situation.
that's a good segue. And what you mentioned and what Daniel mentioned
Yes.
about community engagement, when you start forming this and having that public buy-in, having education about what's happened in the past, how do we know where we're going if we don't know where we've been? This is an actual tool that can give folks the tools to keep and hold those properties. So absolutely.
And have the city help with that part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because
Mhm.
that's been asked for time and time and time again.
Yeah.
It has been written in other grants,
Yeah.
but it has not happened. Now, I need to make sure that it happens. I brought the probate judge in to explain the heir situation.
Yeah.
But even though you don't know who the heirs are, there is a way for us to demolish the property.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
let
have to
the
keep going. Just
Go ahead, let
okay.
the city
Yes, ma'am.
take ownership versus just anybody coming in.
Yes,
and taking ownership.
100%.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. The other, should say issues with it. There, like I said, there's a state CLT law. Just being within those perimeters of the income, following local and state federal regulations when it comes to the taxes, because you will feel. I mean, you will feel that change in taxes that are collected, right? Because you have the land separated from the house, which is great for that homeowner, but it is something to consider. Financial stability, like I said, it creates that foundation for folks to be generating personal wealth, but also for the trust. How you develop that split is going to be important for the ongoing financial stability of the trust to be able to continue to hold land and work with partners to build upon it. A huge part of this, like we said, is communication, education. I'm talking, going in churches, having at community centers, being out in the park, going where people are instead of having them come to you to have collaborative discussions about this. To this Mac's point, it's all about education, and you want to build up that trust because there has been distrust. Success and impact, there are a few different trusts. Just within the state, you could kind of have key indicators and size your kind of outsize yourself for, or right size. But Hartsville's unique and different, and so I also want to be clear that starting a pilot is just really about keeping people sustainably housed, and that's success, right? Generational wealth is success. So that is Land Banks and Land Trusts in a nutshell. I'd be super happy to continue any conversations you might need. Are there any other questions from council and mayor?
What price is the houses in Greenville relative to the normal market?
I mean,
Is
it's
it like 50
super.
price, or is it 80 or?
Yeah, it's super hard to compare. In our Sterling community, we're starting with some that are going to be, and they're smaller footprints, 1,000, 1,200 square feet homes. I think they're looking at 200 for that because that's Greenville, right? I would say in Hartsville.
What would it be if it's not in the trust? Just
Oh.
1,200 square foot house be 400 or
400 easily.
Because the
Okay.
land cost
about
would have
half.
been
Yeah,
significant, yeah.
massively.
Yeah.
Good question. Yes.
So with Habitat Housing
Mm-hmm.
and a private developer that wants to build houses,
Mm-hmm.
Habitat houses range like in the 110 in that range.
Yeah.
Or like, I guess, 1,300 square feet.
Yeah.
I think they're more than that now.
Huh?
I think they're more than that now.
What?
Get a bit more, cost more than that.
Okay, well, they have, the earlier ones, were built where some of these properties are located in South Hartsville.
Yeah.
They were valued at like 106,000
Mm-hmm.
because the land in South Hartsville has such a small,
And those would be
amount,
even
right?
cheaper. These would, I mean, easily probably could go for half
yeah,
if the land is that much,
We definitely need some
Depending.
affordable housing,
yeah.
and ownership, not rental.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's particularly in South Hartsville.
Any other questions for?
And I would just like to ask for, some one-on-one
Absolutely. Sure.
time
Mm-hmm.
to be able to show you what I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
and and help you to understand it better,
Yeah.
so that we can come to the understanding that we need to and correct past injustices that have been done knowingly
Yeah. True.
and go forward and rectify those situations. So I would like to have some time when you have time, when you guys have time, to be able to present this evidence to you and help you to understand, because no one else lives in that community in the room now. How many people live in South Hartsville? Raise your hand. So I'm that only person. So
Yeah.
would just ask the mayor and council for me to be able to communicate with them
I'd
because,
like to participate in that as well.
yeah, I mean, so all of
Absolutely.
us have them come back so that you guys will more understand better, and I can show you the examples of what I'm talking about.
I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Of course. Yeah.
Thank you
Always a
all.
treat.
It's very good.
Thank you.
All right, you want to do the Barley
Sure.
Sculpture Trail?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Okay, excuse me.
I looked up the price per square foot in Greenville is like 384 a square foot right now. It's like 120 for here, so.
Yeah. You wanna just sit there?
Nah. Come on now. Look at that. Okay. So Byerly Park, we had a request, and I don't see anyone from Black Creek here.
I just texted her. She didn't know about that was going to be on the agenda.
Oh, I thought I mentioned that in the email, but that's okay. It's not a problem. We just want to discuss it. She had sent a proposal to, I believe, Dan and Bob about doing a pilot project, and you have it, I believe they have it in their draft agenda. Okay. So it is a student recycled sculpture trail draft installation, and the idea is to create temporary outdoor sculptures on the walking trail or the walking path around Byerly. It'd be for 12 months. This does, did they submit the grant?
Yeah,
Yesterday?
I assume they did, yeah.
Okay. They were trying to seek grant funding for this. The reality is that council still has to obligate if they're going to do anything for the land or any type of monetary contribution. So we'll see what the grant kind of does. But the idea is to create, using the schools to create art exhibits that the students have made using recycled products from Believe, Sunoco, or like entities. I think the proposal at one point had all the high schools in Darlington County. And that's where I kind of differed in that idea, because I was thinking if we're going to do something for Hartsville and Hartsville City is going to present something, then it's not really a county project.
Right.
But there's potential opportunities for partnerships still. The idea, though, is that they would have to do some sort of base for the sculptures to be attached to that would need to be anchored so they can not fall down, and also have to be secured. And that's where I think they talked about many potentially contribution from the city is building these bases along the trails in a sizable area, or in a noticeable area, and then also maintaining them and for liability insurance. So there's a few things that this ask of the city to do. The goal here today was to gauge your interest, to see if you're interested in continuing this conversation. Again, I don't know if they applied for the grant or not, and I don't know what funding they still exactly want from us. But we can start there, talk about what's kind of going in. You can see the parameters for what they're just discussing, but what is council's appetite for doing an art installation either for Hartsville or potentially the county? And to preface this too, I don't know what the school district has said too. I don't know if they've gotten that
So
far.
Black Creek Arts represents the entire county.
Yes.
This is a project that's just in Hartsville, and that I think they want to do art projects in other places as well, but this is just our part, is just the Hartsville part. As far as cost goes, I think they're trying to get a grant to pay for everything. But we have to give permission, I guess, to allow them to dig a hole and put a concrete pad in there. 4 foot by 4 foot, I think is what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And the idea is to have sort of like a milepost around the walking trail, several different spots. I'm a big fan of it because it really ties together a lot of things. We're using kids to do art, promoting art in the schools. It's recycled materials, which is a big part of Hartsville's history with Sunoco, and kind of environmental awareness too. Promoting walking exercise at Barley Park and using to exercise more, and providing artwork is a major part of what I want to do all over town. I see art as an opportunity to generate tourism. So we're already working on, with Black Creek, a significant statue on the grounds of Butler High School. I'd like to get one at all the entrances to town. This would just be a continuation of that. Want to increase the Veterans Memorial. I'd like to have art everywhere, without costing the city any money to do it. So it will generate tourism interest, and I'm trying to catch Charlotte to Myrtle Beach. We're halfway between, and all they know about Hartsville is a Rebel Flag and Pine Ridge, hospital, and a refuel gas station. That's all they know about Hartsville. I want them to turn into Hartsville, see some beautiful art, eat a sandwich, buy a dress, maybe stay the night. So that's kind of the idea. And this is just a continuation of that. So that's where all this kind of came from, to give you some history.
How long did you say that they would stay there?
These, I think, are temporary. I don't know what the time frame is, but
She had a 12-month exhibit on
I
here.
think it said a year.
I think they're gonna recycle the art. They're gonna put new art in there, new installations in there. So it's a one-time commitment from us, I guess, as far as putting the basis in. But then it'll be new and different art with new and different students. So it's a perpetual art program for them.
So what's the 1 year that she had?
Well,
there?
I have it. It has here, and I believe these questions, I think, I can answer as many as I can, but
Right.
12 months, and as I said, it was, so that there is still, let me just go back a couple of things. The structures are pretty significant. They're 7 to 8 feet tall. So there are certain costs and considerations we do have to do. So we are doing land, which is essentially a no cost, but it is a cost to us. We also do have to maintain these things and also make sure that the bolts are secure for insurance, because people are walking on these things. When the art is
Walking
not,
by them, not walking on.
well, it's a park. When,
They shouldn't be, we have to make sure it's safe.
Fallen
yeah, we have to put
statues.
them in a location. So the only thing, I have a couple of suggestions, potential comments. So we have 7 schools there in the city of Hartsville, and that's 1 high school currently. And then we have, how many middle schools? We have 1 middle school, and then we have the rest are elementary schools. I know this is primarily driven for the pilot to be high school. There are locations that we already have that could serve for the same purpose without being on a trail. So for instance, the center of Centennial Park has a location that we could do rotating art in that middle area where we don't have the Christmas tree in there. It's a little bit out of the way, a little bit safer, in my opinion, than a walking trail. I am worried about kids running and climbing on these things. I know it says not to climb, but every project I've been involved with, kids will climb it. It's just the way it goes. My kids will probably be the first ones, and I'm sorry for that. But the reality is that I think we have some other options to maybe do this as a pilot to go for it, especially if they don't have funding to come out with it. And then if they can get the parameters to get 1 statue being made and then put it up in Centennial Park for the entire town to see, still I think accomplishes a lot of it, and then maybe build up to this at this point. Once you start getting more art walk things, then I think that's a good idea to have them on the trails, maybe actually incorporating all the walking trails throughout the city, because that's one of our biggest ideas, is to do connectivity across the town. The master plan, which little segue to that, we're trying to do that right now. Washington Street is doing a $750 million project to connect east-west down 4th Street. So I like the idea of doing it. I just think that we have a little opportunities to do it elsewhere than Byerly Park, and I'm just worried about the Byerly Park actually being the main location for it. Putting these installations in. That's just my feedback on that.
I would have the same sentiment, Mayor, because people turning into Byerly Park are not necessarily, just like people that are in Hartsville, period, that don't use Byerly Park, but there are other places around town that we could display the art more effectively so that everyone can see the art. If you want to put 1 on the walking trail, that would be okay, but you have to remember, we need to go so it can be seen.
My goal is to have art all over town.
Yeah.
This is just one piece.
So it's one statue that you want out there?
I think I'd leave it up to them how many they want to do. I think it'd be several all around the walking trail. It's kind of the idea. You can think of that as those several pieces being one art installation, kind of. And then I want to connect all our parks. That's one a passion of mine, all the way around the lake. That's kind of big down the road thinking, but I want to have every park should be accessible and beautiful and inviting to everyone. And Byerly Park is one of the few places where all of Hartsville goes, and I love that. I want to promote that even more. So that's a great place to start. I think certainly not to finish.
Yeah, with the, because it specifically says on there 1 year, correct, Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's a rotating art. That's what the 1 year part is. It's not going to go away after 1 year.
Okay,
It's
so
going to
we-
change. The
so-
actual art on there is going to change.
All right, well, let's get clear on that.
Okay.
And also.
It's a permanent thing that's going to change every year.
Okay, let's get clear on that and then look at displaying those art pieces other places.
I want to get them everywhere. We got to start somewhere. So we're
Besides.
starting at Butler, and then we're going to go here next. That's the idea.
Mhm. But not just institutionalize, if you wanna do it at Centennial Park, but what we have to do is we have to let people know where things are.
Absolutely. I want to put it on QR codes. Like I said, I want this to be a tourist attraction. So I want everybody to know about this. And we have to tell the world, including our citizens. Absolutely.
So if I'm, just to clarify a couple things, so interested in looking at potentially doing something like this. So the questions I just had from this potential thing is, are interested in doing something on land, Byerly, are you guys want to consider anywhere else, or do you want to just look at Byerly to start?
I'm open to putting it anywhere.
Okay. And are you interested then, because in this pilot study, it's 6 schools, that's the 6 high schools. So that is non-Hartsville schools. We be paying for that to maintain. So is there an interest to do things not that are outside the city of Hartsville that we're then paying for?
I don't think we're paying for anything outside the city of Hartsville.
Well, if we have to pay for the bases for 6 sculptures and only 1 high school is the high school for Hartsville, we're then paying for 5 Darlington County schools.
We're not paying anything outside Hartsville.
Okay, so it's 1 sculpture then, because she said the high school was the start.
I think any high school can put anything they want, but it's going to be in Hartsville. That's the only. We're not putting any money anywhere else.
So we pay for 1 base.
I don't know how many bases we're paying for. I think the concept was put all the way around the.
Right, I mean, it's 24
so-
schools in the end, which is all county schools.
I don't know how many bases it is. We need.
Well,
we don't have enough information to decide.
Right,
that
okay,
now, but
so, okay. Well, I'm seeing as each base is a 4-foot, it's a 7-foot structure, 1 base per structure
Okay.
to be secure, which would be 24 things. And so that's
Okay.
where I just want to make sure council,
It'd be,
what
I
do-
guess it'd be 24 bases responsible for, I guess,
right.
making sure it's safe.
And like I said, we have 7 schools within the city of Hartsville that we, part of the city's thing, not the 24. So, and that's the difference. Black Creek is a countywide operation. It's housed in Hartsville.
Our part with Black Creek would only be Hartsville.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me get some more information and answer some of these questions, I think. I'll go offline with her and talk about what we need to do. I'll bring it back to you guys, maybe in another discussion to get all the information. And I thought we emailed about her coming, so. But I need to see where the grant's going. The grant did not obligate any city resources.
Yeah.
So therefore, at this point, we're just kind of in waiting period.
Yeah.
But okay.
I guess the meta question is, are we interested in art in Hartsville? And
include the government school.
yeah, that's part of Hartsville. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coker, Governor School. Yeah, it doesn't have to be limited to the high school. We can,
Yeah, I think the idea was to keep it was Hartsville specific schools that we
Hartsville-specific
are doing, because that's
art in
our
Hartsville.
focus. And to be that point, then Darlington could do their own
exactly,
structures and the county could do, okay.
exactly.
All right, perfect. All right, well then I will,
If
get
they
back and talk
chose
about it.
to.
if they
If they
choose to,
chose
yeah.
to.
If they chose to. Now, Mayor, you said art is your passion and you wanna see art all over town.
Yes, ma'am.
In the same token, we have to allow others to
Absolutely.
so that we can have a diversified, artworks and the type that they're gonna
Absolutely.
be used.
Yeah.
Because it's, excuse me, let me ask one question. Daniel, with the recent work out at, Barley Park,
Mhm.
with the resurfacing of the
Tennis courts,
tennis
the
courts,
track,
the,
running track, and then walking track.
yes, are those all the monies that were used that, Senator Malloy got?
Yes, ma'am.
So we did the tennis
It's about
courts.
$200,000 we got for resurfacing tennis courts, resurfacing the walking trails, and then resurfacing the running track. We did use some of the ARPA money to facilitate, to go into
To
that,
help
but
that
that was,
along.
yes, ma'am.
All right,
And we're currently speaking with, of course, the school district right now about their plans and what they're doing and their movements that might be happening within the next few years as well. So,
all right. Well, like I said, I just would ask the mayor to be open to having others, included in that.
Absolutely.
Because
The whole town needs to be included.
Yeah. It's
I'm sorry if
just
that was implied that it wasn't. I mean, of course, everybody's gonna be included. We have to work hard at that.
well, that's what sometimes is said, but not done.
Okay.
So I'm just making sure and clarifying that others will be included.
Absolutely. Maybe you can help me do that. That'd be great.
No, I'm doing mine.
Okay.
That's your passion.
All right.
I got my passion.
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This goes back a little ways when Black Creek came and presented us about formalizing our partnership.
sure.
Where do we stand on that? Have they come to us with any sort of draft for a formal agreement to be our art partner, or I just kind of want to know where we stood since.
No, and I think, when the first draft was sent, it did seem to be more of a contractual type situation based on the presentation. And I might be speaking, I apologize if I am. I understand it's more of a being involved type conversation. So we have, whenever we are starting to do artwork or starting to do any type of community engagement, for instance, Project Hometown, which we're doing with the MASC and the Main Street program rather. She is included in that conversation. We include the chamber in that conversation. So we are now reaching out and including Black Creek Arts as one of our stakeholders whenever we do those type of things. I believe she mentioned in the conversation was that it wasn't a monetary thing. I think as things come up like this, we sort of can discuss it. But no formal agreement has been presented. I don't necessarily know if we need one. As I mentioned before, I think that the idea is those that we can certainly include the stakeholders that were part of the community, and that includes others, not just Black Creek, to be a part of what we're trying to do here. So,
and not just Butler Heritage Foundation.
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And not just Main Street.
That's right.
People,
Right.
other people.
Yeah, we need
Not
as
other
much community involvement as we
organizations,
can.
but other people.
Yeah. So, but no, there's been no formal, and that's, as I understand it, I think it's just being included is the conversation. So, which we're doing.
All right. Are we done on Black Creek Arts?
Yes, sir.
Potential part, okay.
Okay.
I'll hand it over to you then for
All right.
the city manager
This is your
updates.
weekly reminder, apparently, to do SC Ethics Commission Statement of Economic Interest. Deadline is filing is March 30th, 2026 by noon. That's for all council members up there and also one over there. And Brian, you get a gold star, submitted on time, ahead of time. So look to your shining example of what to do, which is to not be out of compliance. So,
And when you don't file,
And they will collect,
out of your personal pocket.
they will collect those fines. I have had to pay a fine.
And don't worry, none of the staff look up any of this. That's okay. No problem. I have to file as well. And people across the state definitely don't look at it all the time. So that's okay.
But if you call, they will help you if you have some
Yeah.
problems doing it on
That's
your
good to
own.
know. Yeah.
If you call them, they will.
It can be daunting for your first time.
So what
It's
you're
not so
saying
bad.
is the only person who's done it is
It's
Brian.
Brian. That's right. It's correct. And I think I have one of my staff members do it. I have to do it as well. So you're free to look up mine as well. I already got sent you have to claim any type of gift and things like that. And so I went to a conference on behalf of the board that I represent. And so they sent me the statement about so I'm going to be reporting that. So you just make sure if you have any questions, ask them. We can try and help navigate it, but it really is a question for the SC Ethics Commission. So Brian, well done for the third time today. All right. That's all I have for that. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Joint county dinner is coming up March 30th, 2026, 6 p.m. at Hartsville Country Club. County Council is hosting that. If you have not already, please RSVP with Andrea, it looks like as soon as possible. There you go.
Do you know who's, if I said, okay. I'm going.
And we'll be joined by the county council, the city delegations, and then also the school district is coming. And there is another partner group that's coming this time. A third one that hasn't been invited before. Let me look up. I think we're inviting some more folks who are part of the conversations, which is good. Okay. Next is community garden. So we noticed that the community garden lease had lapsed. This is the community garden you guys approved behind Sparrow and 14th Street. That's 14th Street Apartments. This was a group of volunteers. They were very eager to start. We did put a water tap in for them, cleared some of the land going up to it off of Sparrow. Some life things happened for this group of volunteers. And so work on it really kind of it's kind of stopped or stalled rather. They have re-engaged though, and they're very excited about getting some work done. They did plant, I believe, close to 20 plus fruit trees out there, and I believe almost all of them survived. So that was something they had done. And they're starting to get their rows in place right now. So they're excited. They're trying to they've asked again for one more year of commitment from the city. I'm an ex officio for the Community Foundation for Better Hartsville. They have agreed to be their 501c3 for one more year, allowing them the time to get their 501c3 status up to date. They are currently, working out and trying to get donations again. And so I suggest, and my recommendation is to allow them one more year to try and get this thing going. I think at that point we've done our due diligence and really tried to kind of help this group do it. We did include in our lease agreement potentially for a 6-month extension in case something happens. I don't necessarily know if we need to go that far, but I think it's with the way the planting season is, and I'm not a green thumb. It makes sense to kind of give them a little bit of allowances on that time. But yes, ma'am.
Yes, so you said we gave them a tap out there?
We did. Yes, ma'am. Right at Sparrow, right where on the property line. So they've had to run about 600 feet of line. And it was an at-cost tap, part of our contribution. Yeah.
At-cost tap what?
Putting in that 1-inch tap on that to provide
That was our
water irrigation.
Okay, what about water?
We are not, no. So we can't pay for any water services for them. They have to pay that water bill every single month.
Okay, but we can do the tap and.
Yes, ma'am.
How many feet did you say?
No, we didn't do any feed. They have to do any lines and irrigation inside
Okay,
the property.
all right.
And it's on our property. We own both the property on Sparrow, which is a residential property that has been vacant, and then it goes straight through. They've now put a line down straight through and made some improvements. But they need to work on anything that they do on the property as a leased property is their responsibility.
I talked to Scott Nelson this morning at Arborworks. He said there's an issue with pressure.
Yeah, I think that the amount of line that they're trying to run, which is about 600 feet, is a problem. I had my staff look at it. Really, the only way to probably the whole area around there is about 45 psi anyway. So we would need to, and that's the minimum, and that's Hartsville because we're very flat. And so they could build a cistern type situation to provide their own water pressure and also allow for more filling. But I think it's the type of line they used, how far they have to go. You can only get so much juice out of that. So It's really not an R problem. I do have potential solutions that would cost more money to put things, which would include adding another line on the backside of it. But we're still in that'd be about $6,000 to $8,000 investment, which I'm not sure what I'm willing to do. I think the water cistern that they're talking, which would just be rain barrels, truthfully raised up a little bit on a platform, fairly inexpensive, is actually a very feasible solution to maintain the pressure and also give them water that they need.
Thank you.
So fruit trees and what else in the garden?
I think they have a whole idea to do a completely like a food forest, as they call it. And the idea is to engage as many community members as they have. They have gotten more community members to sign up for plots to maintain themselves. And so the idea is to create, an area that anyone can come to and gather food, what they need. It's for free. The volunteer is just to come and maintain the gardens. The problem they ran into out there, and this is just a location thing, that site is an old, the apartment complex had a pool on it at one point, which they covered in concrete, which they discovered when they tried to dig. So it's not the best place for a garden. Again, remember, there was a community garden next to Cookout that has now been privately purchased. And so any of those locations didn't work out. So this was the only city location that we didn't have any plans for. It still might not be the best location for a community garden. Okay, that's the reality. It has low visibility and it's kind of a bear to get water pressure out to. But they're trying to give it a go. So more gardens are better than no gardens. So we'll see.
Thank you. All right, fireworks.
All right, and I will bring the first reading of that agreement will come next week. Yeah. So you'll see that on our next week's agenda. And then the plan is to have it in place by April, starting that year, April of 2026, it'll expire April of 2027 with the option to extend. I believe we have a contract allowing, do we have city council authorization only, or do they get city manager? Okay, it's 3 months, yeah. I wanted to give it a little bit of time so it didn't come back. Now, if it has to go back any further, then I'd like for you guys to come back and make the decision, just to be on the safe side. Okay, well now the big conversation. So we have been after we talked in our strategic planning session about doing something for the 250th anniversary, the big conversation was fireworks. So fireworks is a bit of a bear to do. There are certain entities that do it around us, but they utilize a nonprofit or they don't have the same insurance coverage that we do. We would have to utilize a nonprofit or someone else to run it through us because we can't run it through our insurance unless we get third-party coverage. I gave you guys, we looked at July 4th. We are struggling to find a person who can do it on July 4th because of course, the amount of people who are trying to do it. At one point, someone was saying they were costing $75,000 just to get your name on the list to be covered. We think we found someone, though, who could potentially do it July 4th. The issue is the timing about getting it done. Or surrounding us, there are many organizations that are doing fireworks at this time. And the city of Hartsville historically has not done it July 4th. So if you look at our chamber is kind of to provide results of who closes during that time. It's extensive of who closes. So the town perceivably kind of shuts down. Now that could change if we announce that we're doing a fireworks show. But the reality is that's what's kind of happening. We're looking for alternative dates. The first one that kind of came up that made some sense was June 20th, which would be it's symbolic for two reasons. One, June 19th is the day before, so Juneteenth, and then you have the start of summer is June 21st. It could be there's opportunity to do not just a Juneteenth celebration, but also start of summer celebration to kick off all the summer events that are going on across the area and for us. It also is there's a lot more options for fireworks and the price is a lot more manageable. So what I need to do today is determine what is council's appetite for doing something on July 4th, trying to push it. We can continue talking about that and then also doing it on another day. It doesn't have to be June 20th. We can pick another day. But that's where we're at right now is trying to narrow
What's
down
our deadline
fireworks.
for deciding?
Let's decide today if we can.
Decide today.
We need to get our name at least. Fireworks are going, like everyone's booking it right now. It'd be a miracle if we can get July 4th right now, but I'm going to still push for trying to get it if that's what council wants to do.
Murphy, what's your thought on hard no on July 4th?
Nobody cares. I mean,
Okay.
this is the day, the week before, the week after. You know,
It's a Saturday.
Okay.
You're definitely not gonna be here.
That's
Okay,
too much money for the city to spend and nobody comes.
understand. What do y'all think?
Is a date after the 4th out of the question?
No, I mean, once you don't do the 4th, multiple days become available. We were just trying to find, so, I mean, the struggle is this,
Some significant dates.
a significant day. This is the 250th anniversary. It is our 135th anniversary, but I think the 250 takes precedent. We tried to look something that could symbolically line up with what we're trying to do. That's why we picked the first day of summer. Also, the fact that we are not going to have another 250th, so going forward, we can pick a date to do something. That's where I think the Juneteenth comes in. I'm not trying to overshadow one or the other.
Right.
For instance, the city of, I just sent that, I think it's Charlotte, is doing both a Juneteenth and a 250th celebration to commemorate both. And it's going to be a little bit bigger because of that. I did reach out to a few folks to see what their thoughts on that would be, including some of our local NAACP chapter. They think it'd be a good idea to try and talk about it, to do something on that day to incorporate June 19th into it. The first day of summer symbolically, because then we can say Hartsville is kicking off all the areas and no one else is doing that. So we're the ones who are starting off this celebration of the 250th as well. You could pick the next weekend, but I think that's when people start to go out of town for the week. So there's many different options available. We could do one, later in the year, but then you run the risk of why are you doing fireworks later in the year? So
I would say that the June 20th date
Mhm.
could have a good impact to be able to combine Juneteenth and use the colors that are used for
sure.
the Juneteenth, and then also with the colors for the red, white, and blue, and whatever else would be included. But that's something that we need to work together to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I see that as a good date. Sharon, if I can ask you a question, where did we have fireworks when we used to have them? Because I used to come up to like by the station across the street from Applebee's. I used to come up that far. So where were they actually done at?
Barley Park.
It'd be in Barley Park now.
No, I know. I'm just.
The city owns property in Barley Park. The property we own across Russell Road is vacant.
Mhm.
Is where the pyrotechnics would set up. But all the events and food trucks and everything would be inside Barley Park. Barley Park. At one point, we had a very small fireworks, where the Lowe's is now. But as that developed, we couldn't have it in the
Right.
airport anymore because of the development that occurred. But they would have stuff in the backside of the Roosevelt, whatever, for Hartsville Mall. People would be set up in the back parking lot there, and then they had a very small fireworks over where Lowe's is now. So with all the development, we were told we couldn't do that anymore, and we didn't own that.
Yeah.
We owned the Barley Park property.
Well, if it's done at Barley Park, and like I said, if it includes the two events at one time, because there's some healing that needs to be done.
And we could start it as a weekend event to
Yeah.
start things
Yes,
going.
June 20th is a Saturday.
So just starting June 19th,
Yeah.
then going into the June 20th celebration. You could do stuff on a Sunday. I think people kind of died out, or like they don't want to go to that. We do have the water park is in full season. Before anyone gets excited, no, we cannot have the water park open while the fireworks are going. We don't have the lifeguards, or we're not rated to do things at night. But that means
We
people
haven't
can
all day, though.
people can leave the park and go straight to the celebration.
Yes.
Because our plan is to have, as we talk about, festivities, food trucks, carnival things out there. So we would do a big to-do about it. The goal is the fireworks, of course, be the center point. We're looking at around 9 o'clock to do the fireworks show. We have quotes for, I think, a 10 to 12 minute show. I want to do a 20-minute show. is the goal. Because 20 minutes, what they're proposing for July 4th,
When the sunset.
we're in the $10,000 to $15,000 range on June 20th, which I think is doable. So June 20th to me, as long as I'm not, the only hesitant I had is I do not want to overshadow or try to make it any way that we're picking one over the other.
Right.
That's the statement. The goal is to make sure that we're doing both of these together
Well,
in
that's
a way
why-
that makes sense. And that's the narrative I'd like to push, because Juneteenth is so important.
Right.
And this is a one-time opportunity for 250th. And going forward, we need a June, July celebration. We've been looking to do one. We've tried a hot dog festival, which was great. We're doing something for 250th. Juneteenth could be something the city could take over as a celebration going forward. And that I think would help with a lot of other situations we've had
Yeah.
recently with Juneteenth. So-
That's why I said, the Juneteenth, fireworks for that in those colors, and then the, 250-year anniversary. But there's some, like I said again, some healing that needs to be done.
Sure.
This will, be the best way to do that without, or to make it bigger and better and show our effort that we're trying to heal and that we don't necessarily have to do things separately
Sure.
to recognize, because they should be recognized, equally. And if that helps the city to do that, then I think that would be a good way for us to go forward.
And as we kind of call it kicking off, and it's going to sound so cheesy, but the Summer of Freedom or something like
Yeah.
that, we can kick off that day, because now we are kicking off the start of the PD events that are happening for 250th too. So it segues really well into what we're trying to do. And we can still have more events going out throughout the summer, do things.
I think
This
it's
was
to
just a kickoff one.
promote the whole summer. So
Yeah.
Kind of like doing it earlier than later, for that reason. And I want a ton of people here.
Yeah,
That
sure.
Tourism is part of my,
Well, we will not accomplish that if we do it July 4th.
right.
We will, I think, I agree with Murphy completely. We will spend money
can
and
see
not
that.
people will come. Bishopville is doing a firework display this year. I'm not sure if that was the first time, but then Florence is doing theirs. And so I think the reality is that we need to meet people where they are, and people in Hartsville leave on July 4th. And so I like the idea of the first day of summer is June 20th, first rather. And so it gives us the opportunity to do something unique.
What do y'all think?
And just a caveat, I also don't have staff off. I'd have to pull in a lot of staff who are off for that time frame as well. They're off July 3rd. And then I'd be pulling staff in who may have plans already with a planned event. June 20th, I can swing that better with staffing.
What do y'all think?
If it wasn't the 250th celebration, I wouldn't have a problem moving it. I just feel like we need to
Stay on July
put the
4th.
icing on the cake. Could we solicit a sponsor or something to absorb some of the cost for maybe a smaller fireworks show, or, because you're gonna have the event for 4th of July regardless, just without fireworks, right?
Well, that's,
I'm talking about the food trucks and all that you.
no, I mean, we would do this, we do this,
So
we do that June
everything's gonna
20th.
be moved to the,
We could also do something July 4th. I don't know, fireworks is gonna be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to find fireworks for July 4th.
I understand.
But we can do, I would love to do something July 4th. Recognizing a lot of people are not here. That is true. It's a ghost town on July 4th right here.
Well, we just don't want Joe Public to say, well, I didn't go out of town, so they decided not to.
I'd love to do something July 4th. I think we can do that. I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to have something to knock it to.
I don't know what it is, Daniel, but I'd like to have something, at
Well-
least to celebrate the 250.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and that's what we would do the 250th
I
celebration.
know, but you
on
know
the-
how it is about sharing sometimes.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's where I think if we do something, we start the weekend, and this is, my staff is not gonna, I'm expanding it as we talk. Doing something on June 19th, going into June 20th, which is, it's moving from Juneteenth to the summer to 250th. And I would essentially, I'm not gonna lie, I would copy what other cities are doing, and they're doing that, exactly that, which is celebrating both, but giving both the respect that they're due. I don't think that if you do it right, I think if you do it right, you can, honor both and not make it seem like we're picking one or the other.
And I think we could do something like
That,
very,
I like
very
that
perfect.
idea a lot.
Well, I'm gonna look to what other cities are already planning and then mirror it the same way, because I think, like I said, Charlotte is doing that. I believe it's Charlotte. But other cities are doing something similar, to ensure that we're doing something, respectful.
That's what I was suggesting. Having the event and celebrating both and letting people have, Juneteenth, stuff
Transitioning
pertaining to
into-
Juneteenth and also stuff pertaining to the 250th anniversary. Think of the Lamar Egg Scramble that's done at Easter. They have all kinds of vendors. They go up and down the street with all kinds of different activities going on. They have a parade. They do all of this every Easter. With this being the 250th anniversary, like I said, if we come on the 20th, this would be a good way for the city to move forward in celebrating the Juneteenth and celebrating the 250th at the same time, appropriately, let each group do what they would want to do.
And let me, I misspoke. It's not Charlotte that's doing it. It's Norfolk that's doing it, Norfolk, Virginia. And that's a huge
Yes.
nation, it's
Naval
part of
base.
nation's, 13 original colony type stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Naval based.
yeah, they're doing a joint celebration that I would reach out and mirror as much as I could.
Sure.
Not to the same scale. We don't have Norfolk's money, all right? But I think the idea is to do something that is celebrating, and then I think we could do something smaller. I'm not sure what it would look like on July 4th. Again, staffing is going to be a question because it's their holiday as well. But let me look in to see what we can do to do that.
I'd love to have something like Murray Park or something. It could be smaller, bands or something like that. Maybe it doesn't have as much. We provide facilities and not coordination or something like that. We could and still make it awesome.
I'm reading what you're saying. I think I can work something out like that.
Yeah.
But if you guys are in agreement with at least looking at the June 20th, I'd like to go and set that down so we can start formulating the full schedule and programming, because we're going to start working on it now. So we already have been, but we want to get a date down.
So is that something we need to vote on?
No, I just need okay,
And,
we're good. That's, as long as I'm not hearing a no, that's what I need. So no votes.
Okay with it, Brian? You hadn't said anything.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay. You okay?
You mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think so.
Okay, great. All right.
All right.
That's all I got.
Anything else? That's all we got. Okay. All right. Hearing no objections, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned.